"Don't come home. Your brother doesn't want you there," my mom said over the phone. "It's easier if you just stay away." I whispered, "It's my house too." That was the last night I called it home. My name is Savannah Reed, and I'm 34 years old. I grew up in a small Ohio town where family meant everything. At least that's what we were told. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday card, every framed photo on the mantle was supposed to prove we were close. But underneath all of it, there was a ranking nobody talked about. My older brother. Troy was the one they always praised. Straight A's, football captain, loud personality. The kind of kid who walked into a room and owned it. Teachers loved him. Coaches loved him. My parents practically glowed when they talked about him. I was quieter. I didn't play sports or win trophies. I loved writing, filming little videos, telling stories online. I'd spend hours in my room with a second-hand camera and free editing software, stitching together short documentaries about people in our town. My parents called it a phase. "You need a real career," my dad would say while flipping through channels. "Nobody makes a living doing that." When college got hard and I moved back home for a few months, my brother complained I was taking up space. He said it casually, like I was furniture someone forgot to move. And my parents didn't correct him. That phone call changed everything. I remember the sound of the kitchen faucet running in the background while my mom told me not to come home. I packed a suitcase that night and left. No goodbye dinner. No hugs. Just the click of the front door and the cold November air hitting my face. I wasn't rich or glamorous. I didn't have a trust fund or a safety net. But I had something they didn't expect. I had a voice, and I knew how to use it. If you've ever been pushed out of your own home to keep the peace, I see you. Subscribe if you've had to build your life without family support. Have you ever been told you weren't welcome? Click hype if you've turned rejection into motivation. I was 24 years old and sleeping on borrowed couches when I finally swallowed my pride and called home. It had been 5 months since I left. 5 months of odd jobs, late rent payments, and eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner 3 nights a week. I just needed a temporary place to land, a few months to stabilize. That's all I was asking for. But what I didn't know was that Troy had moved his girlfriend, Megan, into my old bedroom without asking anyone. He just did it, and when I called, my mom's voice got tight the way it always did when she was about to choose sides. "We can't upset your brother right now," she said. "He's going through a lot." I gripped the phone so hard my fingers ached. "What about what I'm going through?" I could hear my dad in the background, his voice low but clear enough. "She'll figure it out." I begged. I actually begged. "I just need 3 months. I'll sleep on the couch. I'll stay out of everyone's way." There was a pause, then shuffling. Then Troy's voice came on the line, sharp, annoyed. "You always make everything about you, Savannah. We've got something good going here and you want to come back and mess it up." I didn't answer. I just stood in the hallway of a friend's apartment, staring at a crack in the ceiling while my brother told me I didn't belong in my new family's house. That December, I opened social media and saw the photos. My parents had posted a family Christmas picture in front of the tree. Troy and Megan standing between mom and dad. All of them smiling. The caption read, "All together." I wasn't in it. Relatives commented underneath, "Where's Savannah?" My mom replied, "She's doing her own thing." Like I'd chosen to leave. Like it was my idea. I closed the app and sat in silence for a long time. The sound of the heater clicking on and off in that tiny apartment was the only thing keeping me company. That same week, something unexpected happened. A short documentary I'd made about a retired teacher in my neighborhood went viral. Over 2 million views in 4 days. Comments poured in. People were sharing it everywhere. News outlets picked it up. And not a single person in my family knew I was the one who made it. The exclusion didn't stop after that phone call. It became a pattern. Birthdays, cookouts, Easter brunches. I wasn't invited to any of them. I'd find out they happen the way most people find out anything these days. through social media. A photo here, a tag post there. My cousin's baby shower had 30 people in attendance. I saw the pictures 2 days later. When I finally called my mom about it, my voice was steadier than I expected. Why wasn't I invited? She sighed like I was being difficult. We didn't want tension. Savannah, you know how your brother gets. I knew exactly how he got. He got whatever he wanted. The second betrayal happened at my cousin Deshawn's college graduation party. It was held in my aunt's backyard, folding tables, paper plates, the smell of charcoal and lighter fluid floating in the warm June air. I wasn't officially invited, but Deshawn texted me directly and asked me to come, so I went. I was standing near the dessert table when Troy walked past with a plate of ribs and said it loud enough for the whole table to hear. She makes YouTube videos, not exactly a career. Laughter spread like a ripple. My aunt chuckled. My dad shook his head with a half smile. I stood there holding a plastic cup of lemonade and said nothing. But inside something shifted, something hardened. I made a decision in that moment. Standing in that backyard with barbecue smoke stinging my eyes, I was done performing for people who didn't see me. The third betrayal was quieter, but cut deeper. Years passed, my channel grew, I hired an editor, then a small team. Brand deals came in, revenue climbed, and suddenly, out of nowhere, my parents reached out. My dad called on a Tuesday evening. His voice was warm in a way I hadn't heard in years. "We've been watching some of your stuff online," he said. "We're proud of you." Those words used to be all I wanted. But they came too late and for the wrong reasons. A few days later, Troy called. First time in almost 3 years. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't apologize. He pitched me an idea. "You should feature the family. Family content does well. I could be on camera. People love that sibling dynamic." I almost left. He didn't want me. He wanted my platform. He wanted access to the audience I'd built while sleeping on borrowed couches and editing videos. Until 3 in the morning, for the first time in my life, I stopped chasing their approval. I set clear boundaries. I told them I wasn't interested in collaboration. They pushed back. They called me ungrateful. They assumed I'd eventually give in, like I always had, but I wasn't that girl anymore. What they didn't know was that I was the creator behind a documentary channel with over 3 million subscribers. I never used my real name online. I went by a pseudonym and kept my face off camera. Every video was narrated, carefully edited, and deeply personal. I told stories about resilience, rejection, and being pushed out by the people who were supposed to love you. Ironically, my parents once shared one of my most popular videos on their own Facebook page. My mom even commented, "Whoever made this really gets it." I screenshot the comment and saved it. Not out of bitterness, out of clarity. I had built something powerful right under their noses, and they had no idea it was me. I had a plan they never saw coming. I kept my identity private, not because I was ashamed, but because I was waiting for the right moment. When my fiancé, Julian, proposed on a quiet rooftop in Columbus with the city lights blinking below us, I knew that moment had arrived. I decided my wedding would be the reveal. Not to punish anyone, but to stop pretending. If my parents wanted to show up and act like we were a perfect family, I'd let the truth speak for itself, publicly, on my terms. For the first time in my life, I wouldn't be the one hiding. The one person who never left was Lena. She was my best friend since 7th grade. The kind of friend who doesn't just say she's there for you, but actually proves it. When I had nowhere to go after that phone call, Lena opened her apartment door without a single question. She handed me a blanket, pointed to the couch, and said, "Stay as long as you need." She watched me edit videos at 2 in the morning, hunched over my laptop on her kitchen counter with the blue light reflecting off the cabinets. She never once told me to get a real job. She never once looked at me with pity. She just believed in me, quietly, consistently, without conditions. as wedding planning began. The tension with my family crept back in like cold air through a cracked window. My parents assumed they'd play a central role. My mom called to discuss seating arrangements. My dad mentioned something about walking me down the aisle. And then Troy, who told me I wasn't welcome in my own home, who mocked my career at a family barbecue, suddenly expected to stand beside me at the altar. My mom pushed it first. Your brother should be part of the wedding party. It would mean a lot to your father. I calmly declined. That's not happening. They grew defensive. You're holding grudges. Savannah, family forgives. I let that sentence hang in the air and didn't respond to it. Behind the scenes, Lena and I were building something. She helped me organize a surprise segment for the reception. We spent weeks putting it together, selecting clips, editing audio, timing everything perfectly. My family thought the wedding would be a reconciliation stage. They assumed the invitation meant I had forgiven everything. They assumed they'd won simply because I let them in the door. What they didn't know was that the reception slideshow wasn't going to be baby pictures and sentimental music. It was going to be the truth. The reception was held in a restored barn outside Columbus, wooden beams overhead, string lights casting a warm golden glow across every table. The smell of fresh wildflowers mixed with cedar filled the room. Julian and I had our first dance. Cake was cut. Glasses were raised. Everything felt beautiful and light. Then my dad stood up. He adjusted his tie, tapped his glass with a fork, and cleared his throat. The room quieted. Families go through ups and downs. He began, his voice carrying across the room with rehearsed confidence. But we always stick together. That's what the Reeds do. He smiled at me. My mom nodded along like it was gospel. Guests clapped politely. I looked across the room and locked eyes with Lena. She gave me a small nod. It was time. I stood up from the head table. Julian squeezed my hand once and then let go. I walked to the microphone. The room shifted. I could feel it. The energy tightened like a wire being pulled taut. Thank you, Dad, I said. My voice was calm, controlled. Some of you know I left home when I was 24. My mom shifted in her chair. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. What most of you don't know is why. I turned slightly and nodded toward Lena, who was standing near the projection screen. The lights dimmed. The screen behind me lit up. But it wasn't childhood photos. It was a waveform, an audio recording. Then my mother's voice filled the room. Don't come home. Your brother doesn't want you there. Gasps rippled across the tables. My aunt covered her mouth. My dad's jaw went tight. Then another clip played. Troy's voice, sharp and dismissive. She makes YouTube videos. Not exactly a career. Followed by laughter. His laughter. The room went completely still. I turned back to the microphone. For the past 8 years, I've been building something most of you have already seen. I'm the creator behind the channel you've been watching, sharing, and commenting on. 3-1 subscribers, hundreds of millions of views. That was me. Whispers erupted across the room. Guests started pulling out their phones. Some of them recognized the channel immediately. My in-laws looked stunned. Julian's mother had tears forming in her eyes. I took a breath. I built my life after being told I didn't belong. I built it without money from my family, without encouragement, without a single phone call asking if I was okay. I looked directly at my parents, and today, I choose who belongs in mine. I turned to Lena. This woman let me sleep on her couch for 6 months. She watched me build this from nothing. She never doubted me. Not once. The room erupted in applause. Lena wiped her eyes and shook her head like she couldn't believe it. My parents sat frozen. My mom's hands were folded in her lap. My dad stared at the tablecloth. Troy sat at the far end of a table with his jaw clenched and his shoulders hunched forward, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. The truth didn't need yelling. It didn't need anger. It just needed light. After the wedding, things changed. Not in a dramatic, explosive way. In a quiet, permanent way. I limited contact with my parents. Not out of hatred, out of necessity. My mom sent long texts about how embarrassed she felt, how relatives were calling and asking questions, how I had ruined the reception. I read every message. I responded once. I won't hide anymore. My dad never texted. He called once, sat in silence for about 10 seconds, and then hung up. Trey stopped reaching out entirely. No more pitches about family content. No more requests for money or exposure. The channel grew even more after the reveal. Viewers connected with the truth behind the creator. Comments poured in from people who had lived the same story in different houses with different names. But more important than numbers, more important than milestones or subscriber counts, was peace. I had finally stopped performing. I created a home with Julian built on choice, not obligation. A home where nobody had to earn their place at the table. Being excluded hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. But it forced me to build something bigger than their approval. It forced me to find my own voice and trust it. Sometimes the door they close is the one that frees you. Have you ever been told you weren't welcome in your own family? Share your story in the comments. I know how deep that cut goes. Subscribe if you've had to create your own home after being pushed out. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Did this story hit home? Let me know by liking the video and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Click hype to help this story find others who felt the same way. Your support makes a huge difference.